Hi, I'm Eric. In this video, I'm going to share with you my best teaching strategies, techniques, and tips so that you can help your child read at home. At the time of this video recording, I've been a certified Ontario teacher for over 15 years. As a teacher, I've worked with students from kindergarten to grade 8, where, among other things, I've helped them learn and develop as readers. This year, I have a class of 24 grade 4 and 5 students. In the evenings, I'm also a private tutor, where again, I help students learn and develop their reading skills. The same teaching tips and strategies that I use in my classroom and during my tutoring sessions, I'm going to share with you right here. In the middle grades, students will now be reading chapter books. So sitting beside them and reading with them for the full book might not be feasible. Of course, you know your child the best, so you'll know whether or not they want you to be reading with them for the whole book, maybe for parts of the book, or maybe they just want to be left on their own to read by themselves and then come back and discuss the book with you at various points. So the question and the difficulty then becomes is what do you do when your child is reading a book that might be a novel that you haven't read yet yourself? Do you need to read it? Do you need to read it ahead of time? Do you need to read it along with them, almost like a book club type of thing? And the answer is no, you don't have to have read it. You can read it, of course, if you want to. If you want to read it as a book club with them, that's fantastic, and you can certainly do that. But if you don't have the time or the interest to read what your child has chosen to read, you don't have to read it with them. So then how do you have that discussion? The answer is Post-it notes. What your child can do as they are reading is they write on Post-it notes. So they sit down, they've got their book, they've got something to write with, and they've got whatever kind of Post-it notes beside them. And as they're reading, when they think of something that might remind them of something that happened in the past, when they laugh at something, when they cry at something, when they get angry at something that's happening in the book, whatever that feeling or their emotion might be, they write it down on a sticky note and put it in the book on that specific page. If they get to something that they don't understand, write it down on the sticky note, put it in the book. If they get to a word they can't read, a word they don't understand, they don't know the meaning of the word, write it down, put it on a Post-it note. When they're doing all of those things that we as adults do as readers, so when we're reading as adults, we're not just reading the words on the page, we're reading the words on the page, but we're also thinking about what we're reading. We're thinking about what might be happening, so predicting what has happened. We might be making connections to things that happened previously in the book. We might be connecting to other things in the book, to our own experiences. We might be thinking of why something is funny, why it's making us mad, why it's making us emotional in different ways. That's what we want students to start doing in the middle grades. It's not something that students do automatically. It's something that they will do as they continue to develop as readers. That's why having those discussions with your child about what they're reading is so critical and is so important. That's going to get them to develop as critical readers, as critical thinkers while they're reading. So Post-it notes work really well for that. They keep track of everything in their book. And you can imagine by the time they're done a big thick book like this, the book is just peppered with Post-it notes. When it's time to sit down and have that discussion with them, they just turn to the Post-it note. So they turn to the next Post-it note in the book and they share with you, oh man, this part really made me laugh. And you can get them to read you that funny part and you can laugh with it together. You can have a discussion about that. They didn't understand what this word meant on this page here. So then you can define it for them. You can help them define it. If you don't know what that word means, then you can grab your dictionary, look it up together, right? Define what that word is, teach them how to use the dictionary. If you have internet and you don't want to use the dictionary, pull out your tablet, pull out your phone, do a Google search, ask Siri what that definition means. Show them how to figure it out, what adults do when you're reading something. Maybe it's a technical paper for work or something like that. Maybe it's a manual and you get to a word you don't understand. You look it up, right? You look it up on your tablet, you look it up on your phone, you reach for the dictionary. This is a perfect opportunity to teach your child those different strategies, those different techniques. So with the Post-it notes, you can have those in-depth discussions, you can have those meaningful discussions with your child about what they're reading without you having read the book yourself. Now, just because your child's in the middle grades doesn't mean you don't want to read with them. You still want to know what they're doing and what they're sounding like as a reader. So there's a few different ways you can do that. You might have them sit down and read you a few pages in the book. They might read you the chapter in the book. You might sit down together and take turns. So you read a page, they read a page, you read a page, and so on as you continue through the chapter. Maybe it is a book that you've decided to read together. And so you sit there and you listen to them read, and they're reading the book to you. So there's a lot of different ways that you can go through and you can listen to your child reading the book. Now, that's not to say that for an entire book you have to do that. You have to listen to them read every time. You might just take a few check-in points throughout the book. So it might not be a daily thing. I understand that parents, you're busy and you might not have that time to sit down and sit beside your middle school child every day as they're reading the book or reading a chapter of the book or whatever together. Once you get to know them as a reader and you know that they are reading the book well, they're not going through and skipping pages or skipping over paragraphs or different words that they're having difficulty with. Once you know that they're okay with that book and that book is in fact a good fit book, then you might get them to read to you while you're doing other things. Maybe you're folding the laundry, maybe you're preparing dinner, whatever. You can sit there and you can be doing other things while your middle school child is reading to you. At those times that you and your child are reading together, it is important that you sit down in a comfortable place and that you're sitting beside your child as they're reading. And the reason for this is so when you're sitting together, first of all, you're not across the table from them where you're trying to read what they're reading but upside down. So you can sit beside each other, you have the book out in front of you, and you're both able to see the book and reading together. So it's not a case where you're sitting across from them, beside them, and they're reading the book like this, and you can't see the words on the page. You need to be able to see the words on the page as they're going through. And again, the reason for that is to make sure that they're reading the words properly. They're not skipping words. If they are getting stuck, you can help them with those words. You can help them by knowing what words they're getting stuck on. All those things are important to know. So especially when they first start that book, sit down beside them, take that 5 minutes maybe, is all you need. Get them to read it to you as you sit there, follow along, listen to them read. And then of course, discuss that book. That's what's going to make them even progress further as a reader. That's what's going to help them develop as a thinker as well. So they're not just reading the words on the page, but they're making sense of the word. They're making sense of the words, and they're making that meaning so they can do something with that information. Whether it's a story just for fun, whether it's a nonfiction that they're doing for research or for a project or whatever, they need to be making sense of what they're reading. And having those discussions will help them make sense of what they're reading. So when you're at home reading with your child, whether it's the weekend, it's after school, it's on a holiday or vacation somewhere, I hope the strategies and techniques and tips that you've learned in this video help you do that. If you're at home and you are self-isolating or you're social distancing under quarantine, you can't get out right now, again, I hope that these strategies help you read with your child and help them continue to develop as a reader. Thanks for watching. Until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, take care of each other, and keep learning.